What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So from time to time, we'll talk about different systems with repairability in mind, and there's actually been a discovery made for the Xbox Series that, well, if one very standard component fails, you basically can't do anything about it. You got to send it back to Microsoft, and we'll go over that here today. Also, we are going to be talking about Armored Core 6 as previews and gameplay went up online, and this game keeps looking better and better. And we'll also be talking about a potential sequel that's unfortunately been canceled by Ubisoft, and I'll admit, got more of a response online than I was expecting. So if you guys enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button, helps out a ton. And if new here to the Spawnwave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And we're gonna start today with Sea of Stars, which is an awesome classic RPG that's coming up here at the end of August. Actually, about a month from now, on the 29th, it will release. And we've had demos drop on different platforms like on Xbox and on Switch, and now we had the demo drop on PlayStation, along with one other bit of news that actually makes me very happy to see, which you can see this posted up over on X.com, where it says Sea of Stars comes to PlayStation Plus game catalog on launch day, August 29th. So this is very interesting, by the way, for the developer and publisher behind this game, because they've now made a deal for Game Pass as well as PlayStation Plus Extra and Premium. So yeah, they're technically getting paid by both platform holders, which tells me they've probably made, just based on the game and I'm sure the budget behind it, they've probably made all the money back for the development costs and then some. So most likely they're already profitable on it, and there's going to be physical copies of the game, and that's actually what I really want. I'll play it on either PlayStation Plus or Game Pass at this point, and then I'll probably hold out, get a physical copy maybe on the Switch. But exciting stuff there, because the game has been looking awesome the entire way through in development. Now there's demos on all different platforms, and it'll probably go into a subscription service you already have at the end of August. So exciting stuff there for Sea of Stars. Also, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart is out today on PC, and we got one other piece of information, and if you're a Steam Deck owner, you're probably happy to see this. Again, posted up over on X.com, where this is from Insomniac Games, saying Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart is Steam Deck verified, so it's ready to roll for your Steam Deck day one. Exciting stuff. There was some talk about ray tracing being kind of left off the table at first, and that'll follow through on a patch later for AMD GPUs and stuff. So interesting there, considering the PS5 already does ray tracing, and that's also done by AMD. But either way, it going to the Steam Deck as verified right away is cool. I was considering checking this one out myself, not necessarily to load it up on a hard drive, but just because it has been a while since I've played it, and I was curious how it would run on the Steam Deck. But the fact that it's verified, maybe I'll see how it's running with, I'm sure, other people who will be checking it out, doing videos, because that's kind of a cool game, to be honest, just to have portably. And again, getting some use out of the Steam Deck, why not? Oh, and I'll admit, it's been kind of quiet for Starfield on the lead up to it so far. I feel like getting into August, a lot of marketing is going to pick up for it since it's out in like the second week of September. But a bunch of these animated shorts dropped on Bethesda's YouTube channel. You can see some of it here. Again, there's 3 of them. And the idea here is to just introduce you to different characters and scenarios that could be taking place in the world. Because remember, the idea here with Starfield is you'll be going into it, kind of making your own story, and we're all basically going to have different experiences and narratives as we go through at our own pace and make our own decisions. And I feel like that's what they're trying to convey here with these 3 different animated shorts that dropped all at once. But they're pretty cool. They're not very long, maybe a minute or two, and it's kind of a neat thing to go through and see, again, on the build up to Starfield, that I feel like that marketing campaign is going to go into overdrive in the next week or two, and exciting stuff as we're getting closer and closer to Bethesda's next big-time single-player release. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with the Xbox Series X, and a bit of a concerning discovery that's been made when it comes to the repairability of either the Series S or the Series X. Now, I've done teardowns for both of those systems, and they were pretty interesting inside. I thought Microsoft did a good job engineering and putting together either system. And as I was going through, I did get to the storage, the NVMe drive that's in there, and I noticed, oh, this is cool. It's slotted in, so you can pop it out, and then you can, I guess, replace it with a new one if there's a problem. The PS5, that is all soldered to the board, and we're still waiting to see how that ends up turning out in the long run. However, we are seeing some Xbox Series systems have failures when it comes to the NVMe drives here and there, or just it being corrupted overall. So the idea then would be, okay, you replace it with one of matching spec because they're not necessarily using a proprietary NVMe drive in terms of speed or fitment or anything. You can go online and actually just find them. But there appears to be a problem that has kind of been set up as a roadblock by Microsoft to stop you from doing that at all. Now, this was discovered and posted up on YouTube from a person with the account The Coder, and they seem to do a lot of console repair. Some is very, very in-depth, and it definitely reminds me of stuff I would do back on the 360 and the PS3. A lot of fun stuff there, but in this instance, kind of explains the situation with Microsoft basically having keys encrypted on the NVMe drive that is also tied to the motherboard. So that obviously becomes very concerning. If your drive fails, well, you're sending it off to Microsoft, and some have mentioned in comments and responses that it costs hundreds of dollars. I saw one even mention $200 to $300 if you have this issue to get it repaired by Microsoft. And there's really nothing you can do at that point, as they have basically set it up to where you have to go to them. There is no repairability by the consumer. I also want to point out a video that was done in response by Louis Rossman, who also went a bit more in depth when it comes to the update side of things with the Xbox. Now, Louis is heavy behind right to repair, as he should be, and as basically all of us should be when it comes to our electronics and having actual control around repairing them ourselves, or having some other third-party entity repair them for you, not having to necessarily go back and put all the control in the hand of the companies that are producing these devices. But he did explain a bit more about the update system with the Xbox, and this is important to note because you could technically clone your NVMe and back it up that way and then send it and then put it back on another NVMe drive that you pick up down the road after it fails. But you would have to actually do that after every single update, because when your system gets updated, at times those keys will be changed completely. So if you do that with an old backup, then your system will not boot. Again, Microsoft putting up roadblocks to something that should be a fairly easy fix, as in the NVMe goes bad, you replace it, and then the system should be able to format and then use it once again as a storage device. And I definitely understand the coder's frustration here, because this is stuff that you would go through back in the day with certain systems where maybe there's a problem with the main flash NAND or something on the board. We've had that before with Nintendo and some of their systems, and it just has to go back to Nintendo. There's nothing else you can do about it. But in this case, it just seems so obvious that Microsoft does not want people messing with these NVMe drives, to even the point where you can't replace it yourself. It has to go all through them, and at times cost hundreds of dollars, I'm sure more than it needs to. Now, on top of all of this, the other big thing that's obvious is, well, your NVMe only has so many read-write cycles it can complete before it probably will go bad and die out. And to be honest, that can be 10 or 15 years from now, but that does put a time limit on it unless Microsoft inevitably patches this out in some way through firmware or what have you. And it's probably something that many people won't actually come up against until even after this generation, but it's certainly frustrating, and it's something I would like to see Microsoft address down the road. At this time, it appears publications are reaching out to them, so maybe we'll get a response back, but if we do, I'll keep you guys updated. Next up, let's talk about a sequel for a game that was reportedly in development. We heard about this news, I think, last year, and it was for a game called Immortals: Fenyx Rising, or originally Gods and Monsters, but I believe there was a trademark dispute there with Monster Energy Drink. Go figure, they seem very active on that end. But in this case, I was curious to see how they would continue what they were trying to build, being a franchise around Immortals: Fenyx Rising. The idea was they would go and explore other mythologies in basically what's kind of a knockoff, yes, of Assassin's Creed mixed with The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. But the first game, while not incredible to me, also wasn't terrible. It was like right there in the middle and a bit forgettable, but something I would keep my eye on. Unfortunately, it appears that sequel has been canceled internally. This from VGC. We can see they say here, according to multiple development sources who told them anonymously that a follow-up game was in early development at Ubisoft Quebec, but company leadership ultimately decided to cancel it earlier this month due to perceived challenges around establishing the intellectual property. Now, it is important to note that Immortals Fenyx Rising was developed by the Assassin's Creed Odyssey studio, Ubisoft Quebec, and based on, well, their current direction, Ubisoft, who's all about Assassin's Creed right now, is what, like 11 Assassin's Creed projects currently in development? Most likely they're being put towards that effort rather than, hey, let's see what we can get done with Immortals Fenyx Rising. Kind of a shame, as I mentioned. I would just been curious to see what they could do next after establishing the baseline of the franchise like we had with it, the original, and kind of where they go after even that downloadable content that they released. But unfortunately, not going to happen. It seems to have been canceled according to VGC, or maybe it's at least been put up on the shelf and they could revisit it down the road if, I don't know, Assassin's Creed starts to struggle and not sell that well. But based on how things have gone with Valhalla, it's full speed ahead with Assassin's Creed. Next up, let's talk about Armored Core 6. It is releasing actually 4 days before Sea of Stars, this being on August 25th. So yeah, a lot of games still coming up here in 2023 after a jam-packed first half, but Armored Core now a month away. We had previews go live yesterday, as well as a ton of gameplay and a bunch of new details. Again, this game looks better and better every time we've seen it, and in this latest gameplay, we see, I think, the next level for the Armored Core franchise, and that's exciting stuff with really how far FromSoft has come just across the board as a developer. But let's take a look at some of the gameplay here, and we'll talk through some of the different details that were shared. This includes the game being upwards of 50 hours long. Now, this is not like an open world game, nothing like that. You're gonna go mission to mission, right? And as you complete missions, you'll get money that can then buy more and more equipment and gear for your cores. The environments, which you'll notice right away in like the opening part of this gameplay, there's a lot of verticality to them. They're very large, and this enables you, I mean, to jet all over the place. And something I realize as I'm watching this, the dodging, the boosting, it's very violent, and it adds weight to your core. So once you hit that boost button, the camera almost can't keep up with it. It just like juts off to one side. Really, really good stuff. Very stylized also. The ray tracing can be enabled only for the garage, which makes sense because this is also shaping up maybe to be kind of competitive with some of the multiplayer aspects we're hearing about. So I want to keep that frame rate up there. The permanent upgrades you can be earned in arena mode, and there's a huge variety of weapons. Armory stations allow you to change loadout mid-mission, so you have checkpoints as you go through, and maybe you're struggling with a certain boss, you can actually change your loadout, customize your core with all kinds of stuff. They have like the tank turret or the tank treads you can put on your core, or go to like the quad layout. It's a lot of stuff going on with this game, and it's exciting stuff. I haven't played an Armored Core game in a while, right? We had For Answer. That was the last one I really played, and I thought it was good. I was on the PlayStation 3, but it didn't hit high marks or anything like that with critics. This one, though, seems like it might be the complete opposite. People are really excited with what they're seeing, and yeah, some of that has to do with FromSoft really building up their name in the industry, but also doing something like, oh, let's get the stagger gauge and add it in to Armored Core 6 so that it has some of that FromSoft feel to it without going full-on Souls-like. I appreciate that, keeping Armored Core separate from their entire Souls genre, their series that they've created, so I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. Picking it up day one, August 25th. I also think this will probably be the best-selling Armored Core game, although that's a very, very low bar that's been set. But hey, looking forward to the end of August. A lot of stuff coming up in 2023. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about Criterion and apparently another Need for Speed game that's in development. This was noticed on a job listing over on Insider Gaming. We can see this here. They quoted it saying, with a proud history working on beloved franchises, including Battlefield, Star Wars Battlefront, and Burnout, we're now challenging the conventions of the racing genre to take the Need for Speed franchise to the next level, the posting from LinkedIn says. Now, this specific job listing is for a world artist that will help build on their new and exciting endeavor to create an open world offering the player a fast, visceral, and authentic experience. So we believe that there is a Need for Speed Most Wanted remake lined up for next year in 2024, that being the remake of the 2005-2006 Most Wanted. So you have that next year, maybe 2 years later. You then get the follow-up being a brand new Need for Speed on the heels of Unbound, which I liked Unbound for what it was, but it didn't really feel like it strayed too far from what we had with Need for Speed Heat. I would like to see them just go crazy with this next Need for Speed, do something completely different, but maybe they play it safe and continue on. I was kind of concerned EA saw Need for Speed Unbound do, kind of poor when it came to sales from what I'm sure their expectations were, but who knows, maybe they have plans to really shake up the franchise with this next entry, but still seems like we're going to be a couple years before we even get a look at it. In this case, though, I guess look towards next year for that remake of Need for Speed Most Wanted, which is a very popular entry in the entire franchise, so I would expect that one to do pretty well. And before we go to the comment of the day, we're taking a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I ask, are you picking up Armored Core 6? Okay, 49% just are not interested, but that means 51% are at least somewhat interested. 17% say you're getting it ASAP, 34% maybe later during a sale. That's actually really good for Armored Core. Again, hasn't been a great selling franchise in the past. The bar's low. If, to be honest, the 6 gets 1 million units in the first couple weeks, that'd be incredible for Armored Core. So in this instance, I think just the way it looks, the FromSoft name behind it, some of the gameplay we've seen is at least intriguing to people. So I think Armored Core 6 is going to do really well, especially with I'm sure the expectations that have been set within FromSoft and Bandai at this point, but it's looking good. And I'm really looking forward to August 25th finally get my hands on it. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day as you're seeing here. This is from Elijah saying, I hope Spawn Wave is still going strong 15 years from now. I'll still be here every morning watching, God willing. What was that, 2038? Yeah, I should still be going strong then. I need to go long enough to where it's at least embarrassing for my kids somewhat when they're in high school, or until Mega Man X9 comes out, which 15 years, that should be long enough, I think, right, Capcom? And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. Was the Xbox Series situation with the SSD being tied to the motherboard? Are you concerned about maybe the longevity of the Xbox Series systems? And then also, what about Immortals Fenyx Rising having its sequel apparently canceled in development? Armored Core 6? Are you picking that up day one? Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.